Hi, I'm Chef Molly Bravo with Organicopia. Today we're going to prepare a simple 3-course meal for a medicinal marijuana dinner party. So let's get to it. When we're cooking with medicine, we need to always start by making a simple butter. This is called a Ganja Butter, and here's what you need. It is so fast and so simple, but this is something that you do need to plan in advance. So we're gonna start with 1 ounce of marijuana to 1 pound of unsalted butter and 2 cups of water. We add the butter into a crock pot, add 2 cups of water, one ounce of outdoor homegrown medicine, and give it a really nice stir. This is going to be the base of all of our recipes. You can use as little or as much as you want, but keep in mind that 1 tablespoon of butter is 1 dose of medicine. And we are gonna set this on low. It's really important to set it to low because you don't want it to burn. We're gonna set it for 10 hours and we'll check on it periodically and give it a little stir. So after we have cooked our cannabis butter, we are going to strain it. This is super simple to do. I have a fine mesh sieve right here, and I also have a paper towel inside of it. We pour the Ganja Butter in and simply push it down with a spatula. What you're gonna be left with is all of the solids inside the strainer and the liquid in the bowl. Since this takes such a long time to do, I've taken the liberty of making some Ganja Butter in advance, so I am gonna clean this up and bring the final product over. All right, you guys, so imagine that your butter has been sitting inside of the refrigerator for about the last, 5 to 12 hours, long enough for your butter to solidify. What you end up with is a bunch of water on the bottom and the butter on the top. So you're probably wondering, how do you get the butter out? It's really, really simple. You take a nice sharp knife, you go around the edge of the dish, pull up, voila, that's it. And that is as simple as you can get. So now we have our butter. We are gonna cut it into 1-inch cubes. That's roughly about a tablespoon per dose. And now that we have our Ganja Butter, let's make a Ganja meal. For this medicinal marijuana meal, we are gonna start with our salad. There are 3 components to this dish. We have a salad of petite summer tomatoes, we have a tomato sorbet, and we have a garlic tuile. So let's get started with sorbet. I have taken the liberty of pre-sauteing some onions and garlic. I added in a little bit of cayenne pepper, salt and pepper of course. And we are gonna simply add everything to our Vitamix. So we add the onions and the garlic. a little bit of cayenne pepper. We're gonna add 1 28-ounce can of crushed tomatoes. You can always use fresh tomatoes if you like, if they're in season, but for right now I'm just using canned. We are gonna add 1 tablespoon of sugar. This is really important. This is what gives it the sorbet feel, so it's not so savory. And then we're gonna add a splash of red wine vinegar. We're gonna give it a quick zhuzh. And we're gonna add it to our ice cream maker. This ice cream maker, I'm gonna set it on low and then I'm gonna move it up to high. After a few seconds, we are gonna move this up to high and we're gonna let it spin for about 3 to 5 minutes. So as you can see, the sorbet is now complete. It's nice and thick. I am gonna transfer this into the freezer and we're gonna continue to allow it to freeze for another hour or so. Meanwhile, we're gonna move on to the next component of our dish, which is a salad of petite summer tomatoes. Moving on to the second component of this dish, we have a salad of petite summer tomatoes. This is very, very simple, you guys. I have these beautiful cherry tomatoes right here, and I am going to score the bottom of them with a tiny little X. I have already taken the liberty of doing that with pretty much most of these. And I have some salted water boiling away. We are gonna drop the tomatoes into the water. You're gonna let them cook for a very short amount of time. I would say probably 10 to 15 seconds. So now we're gonna wait while the skin starts to peel away from the flesh of the fruit. And as you can see, this is what it looks like when it's complete. We're gonna drop these into a nice ice bath. I've also salted the ice bath because that will continue to allow the seasoning to penetrate the tomatoes instead of washing it all off with unsalted water. Once this begins to cool, it's so simple. You guys can see how the tomato skins just peel right off. So I'll show you guys a couple of these. And we're gonna move on to the third and final component of this dish, which is the garlic tuile, and we will be adding a little bit of that Ganja Butter. So now that we are done here with the tomatoes, let's move on to the next part, the roasted garlic tuile cookie. So we are on to the final component of our salad. We have the top and bottom. We are making a roasted garlic tuile. It is so good, and you guys, it's so simple. It's basically like a roasted garlic cookie. That'll be the top part, and the base of our salad is going to be a little sourdough crouton. Super simple to do, so let's get started. Here I have an egg white. I'm beating it until it has soft peaks. When you're beating an egg white, you want to give it lots of air so it gets nice and fluffy. We have 1 egg white. We also have 2 garlic cloves. I don't know if you know how to mash garlic, but this is what I like to do. I like to start by mincing it. I add just a touch of salt, and with the back part of my knife, not the sharp blade, but the back dull part, we are going to run our knife back and forth. Adding a little bit more salt as needed. We're doing a really simple rocking motion, and we're using the palm of our hand to stabilize the knife to make sure that we're not going to cut ourselves, because the worst thing you could possibly do is get your finger stuck in there. And here we have a really nice, beautiful garlic paste. So we're gonna add this to our dish, and we're gonna mince up a little bit of fresh rosemary. Now you can use any herb you like. I like rosemary because it's nice and earthy and not too pungent. This is about 1 teaspoon, but I'm just eyeballing it. We are going to add a 1/4 cup of flour. So we're adding a 1/4 cup of flour. We're gonna add our 1 egg white that we whisked to soft peaks. And now we're gonna add the good stuff, which is 1 tablespoon of our Ganja Butter to 3 tablespoons of softened unsalted butter. Make sure you don't add too much Ganja Butter because you don't wanna overdose your patients. And we are gonna add some Parmesan cheese just to taste. So I love Parmesan cheese. It's nice and salty, and it's gonna give this cookie a nice little flavor. And the very last thing we're gonna add is a little bit of sugar. So we have a sweet and savory blend inside of our cookie. And here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna mix it all together. It's super simple to mix because everything's at room temperature. This Ganja Butter is gonna give it such a great flavor. And it's gonna be a really thick batter. So once we have this all nice and mixed together, we're gonna put 4 cute little rounds on our cookie sheet, and we're gonna bake it at 375 for about 8 to 11 minutes. This is gonna be the top part of our salad, the roasted garlic tuile, roasted garlic cookie. And now I'm gonna show you guys how to do the base. So for the base, I have 2 pieces of sourdough bread, and I have a nice little cookie cutter. You can use a circle, you can use a square, whatever you like, whatever you have on hand. And if you don't have a cookie cutter, feel free to use a cup. So we have these 4 little rounds. We're gonna put these in the oven at the same time as our garlic tuiles. And for this part, you can either use a little bit of infused oil, which is what I'm going to use, or you can use butter if you want to keep your dosage really low. For right now, in this one particular dish, we have a tablespoon of Ganja Butter. So I'm gonna add a little bit extra because we have 4 people coming to dinner tonight. I don't think that 1 tablespoon plus a little extra is going to totally kill them. Spread a little bit of oil on these rounds and season it with a little bit of salt. That's it. So now that we have our cookies finished, we're gonna pop these in the oven at 375 for 8 to 11 minutes, and we're gonna move on to our main course. You do not wanna miss this. Onward and upward, here we are. We are getting ready to start the main course of our meal. We have a beautiful filet roast. I'm gonna simply season this with a little bit of salt and pepper, and we're gonna move on to some mashed potatoes and a port wine reduction sauce. My guests are coming over in a half hour. I'm super excited, very jazzed. I think they're gonna love this meal. I started off with a little bit of salad of petite summer tomatoes with a tomato sorbet and a roasted garlic tuile. And now we're gonna move on to the super infused part of this dish. So let's get started. We have the filet of beef, and you can see how absolutely beautiful this is. I had my butcher clean it and take off all the silver skin. I am simply gonna season it with salt and pepper, both sides. And we're gonna put it in a 375-degree oven for about 45 minutes. I've found that 45 minutes is like the perfect time to cook this cut of meat. It'll be nice and medium rare. All right, so now that that's cooking and we set it and forget it, we are gonna get started on Mary Jane's mashed potatoes. Let's get started on Mary Jane's mashed potatoes. I've already drained and boiled my potatoes in salted water so that they're seasoned all the way through. If you were to salt them at the end, they would just be salty instead of well seasoned. So what I have here is a little bit of buttermilk. You can add as much as you like, but I'm gonna add about a cup. And yes, these are gonna be buttery. They're definitely not low fat. We have about 4 tablespoons of regular butter and 1 tablespoon of our sweet Mary Jane butter that we made earlier. And this is called a potato masher. So, this is it. You just mash it on up. All the flavors are gonna get infused. If you were here right now, it would smell so heavenly. We've put a tiny bit of medicine into every portion of this meal so far. We don't want to over-medicate our guests, but we do want them to feel the effects of the meal itself. I have been testing out these recipes and I haven't shared them with anybody yet, but I'm really excited because I think they're gonna absolutely love this dish. So now that we have this mixed up, I'm gonna put this on the stove and I'm gonna show you guys how to make a port wine reduction sauce. So here we have a little bit of port wine. I'm reducing it with about a half a red onion, a bay leaf, some whole peppercorns, and I am going to add roughly half a cup of heavy whipping cream and another teaspoon or tablespoon of this beautiful sweet Mary Jane butter. We're gonna give it a cute little stir with my little whisk. We're gonna let this reduce for about 5 to 7 minutes, just until it all gets blended up. And now we are gonna finish up with a sweet touch to our medicinal dinner party, a stone chocolate mousse. It is oh so good. So now we are on to our sweet final touch, the sweet stoned chocolate mousse. Let's get started. I've already taken the liberty of whisking 5 egg yolks and a 1/4 cup of sugar. I whisked this on high for about 5 minutes. We're gonna mix. This is a lot of butter, you guys, so the less of your sweet Mary Jane butter that you wanna use, feel free. But we have 2 full sticks of butter, which is a half a pound. We're adding this to a semi-sweet chocolate. I have melted 16 ounces of semi-sweet chocolate in the microwave. I'm adding 1 stick of regular unsalted softened butter and 1 stick of our sweet Mary Jane butter. Can of butter. We're gonna mix this together and it is gonna become nice and glossy. This is kind of how they start making ganache. Once this is all incorporated, we're gonna add it into our egg yolks, blend it all together. All we want to do is blend this really quickly until it's all incorporated. And we are going to add it to my homemade whipped cream. Whipped cream is super simple to make. Please do not buy Cool Whip or that spray can whipped cream. Just make your own. This is about 2 cups of heavy whipping cream and a 1/4 cup of powdered sugar. And I whip it on high until it becomes soft peaks. So now that this is all blended, we're gonna incorporate everything all together. Chocolate mousse is probably one of the fastest, most simple desserts that you can make. It's so decadent, everyone loves it. It's one of my favorites. We're incorporating all of the chocolate, the egg yolks, the sugar, the medicinal butter to our whipped cream, and we are gonna fold it all together. You don't want to mix, you want to fold. So you start from the inside out using a spatula. And we're going to incorporate it until it's all blended and ready to go. So we are going to put this in the fridge right now. We're going to let it set for about 30 minutes to an hour. It's gonna allow the butter to solidify again, and this, when it's finished and you serve it, it's gonna be like a soft cloud on your tongue. It is so good. So this is how simple it is to make our stoned chocolate mousse. All right, you guys, I have to go get ready right now because my guests are gonna be here at any minute. I'll see you soon. So don't go anywhere because you are not gonna wanna miss this party.
When we say that Mrs. A's is handmade, it is so handmade. And then we have Martha, who we call Magic Martha. She scoops it up and fills hundreds, thousands of containers. And then they get hand capped, hand sealed, hand stamped, and into the refrigerator.
All right, you guys, so what we have here is a pan-seared filet of beef with a delicious port wine reduction sauce. We have some delicious medicinal mashed potatoes, some seasonal vegetables that are squeezed with a little bit of citrus and olive oil. Thank you so much for joining us here at Organicopia, the total organic experience where being green has never tasted so good. I hope you guys love everything, and we will see you guys next time. Cheers, Cheers everyone.
listening to a demo for stockmusic.net.